This is Real Talk, because not everything has to be about business.
We're trying something new here with the elite team. Some real talk.
That's right.
So
This is what's called a group firing, group termination, everybody. You're going to see it live.
yeah, I want to thank you guys for bringing in. We've had a lot of people call in and say, "How do you let people go?" So I thought I'd invite everyone.
Oh man.
So Jason, you're first. I want to. Hey, so guys, I appreciate you being on. We here's the point of all this. So just for the people that are tuning in, and this is automatically recorded, I'm assuming, right? Mm-hmm. This is all there. This is the My Elite consultants. We got Mr. Kurt Klingenmeyer, Josh Arsamont, Mr. Adam Parman, Shane Tossel, Jason Patino, and this is the first time that we've ever got us all together just to have a talk for the industry per se. Of course, we do the big events. They work with elite clients. They have their own schools. Just in literally 30 seconds or less, why don't you just tell us where's your school, where are you from, how long you've been operating? Mr. Klingenmeyer, go first.
Yeah, sure. I'm in Southeast Wisconsin. I have 3 locations, Oak Creek, Racine, and Kenosha, Wisconsin. I've been running martial arts schools full-time for 16 years, and I've been actually operating for 20.
All right. I'll go next. Okay. So, guys, Josh Arsamont here. I have 2 schools in Houston, Texas. We've been in business since 2010, although I started teaching in 1996 for my parents' martial arts school. So I've been teaching professionally for 30 years now. It's my 30th year this year. So happy to be on.
Hey, my name is Adam Parman. My school is in Atlanta, Georgia. I have 1 location currently, but I've owned and operated schools and had the opportunity to work with some of the best in the industry, including being the executive director for Mr. Silverman and Mr. Metzger and their schools in Orlando, as well as working for Bill Clark and Joe Corley over my career.
All right. Hey, everyone. Shane Tossel, Appleton, Wisconsin. I think I opened my school 32 years ago, and here we are today. It's been great.
All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Jason Patino. My school's in Orlando, Florida. Been running a school, owning for about 20 years, this location for 15 years. We do jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and MMA for kids and adults.
Mr. Metzger.
We can't hear.
We cannot hear you.
Shane, take over.
Yeah, right on. Right on. I don't know. Yeah, we're having some audio challenges and other challenges that we won't tell you about. We'll just see if they happen on this particular deal. I think this is the first time we've had 6 people on at once. We've done 3 and we've done 4, but I think this is the first time for 6 people. So, well, listen, for those of you, the 12 of you or 3 of you that are watching, we're doing an Ask Me Anything, right? So if you've got questions, pop them in the box, and we can certainly do our best to answer those. And they're just
can you guys hear me?
Sometimes a little bit of delay, and Mr. Metzger is back. Yes, cannot.
Okay, so you guys can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, so let's try this, and we apologize because this is the first time we're using this where the 6 of us are live on these different platforms. But what I was saying was, of course, I feel like this is the best team in the martial arts industry. All of these guys are highly successful school owners that have dedicated their time to work with different people in the industry. And I think a lot of people know in the elite program that the biggest challenge, but the most effective way to help these schools is one-on-one consulting. So as busy as everybody is, they do one-on-one consulting with the schools. Now, that's just the introduction on who we are. What I'd like to do to try to help the people that are watching this is let's talk about what we've been doing right now in the schools, how it's been going. I know Mr. Arsaman had a record, I believe, a record month last month, because with your new school and your existing school, you absolutely crushed it. Patino can tell you, I mean, some of the big wins here. When I started working with Jason Patino, because he's right down the street from me, I think he was grossing 10,000 a month. His biggest month to date was 160,000. Is that right? Was it 160?
165, yeah.
165. Same thing with Mr. Klingenmeyer, was a full-time teacher at a school and retired early to run his location, is now at 3. Mr. Parman, as he said in his introduction, he's been around for a very long time. He does well into the 7 figures at his location. And Tassel as well has been with us for 15, 16 years. We always lose track of time, and has had got doubled growth, consistently from, the numbers, but went from, 230 all the way up to 800,000 in revenue with the school. So my point is highly successful people that have been doing this a long time in consulting. Now, let's just have a conversation, guys. I mean, this is what this is about. So if anybody wants to jump in, tell me, and it could be a different answer for everybody, because it's not one thing, it's multiple things.
Oh, and there your audio goes again. Audio.
Cliffhanger.
Yeah, so we should all just jump in and we'll see what happens here. Otherwise, we'll look at, there was a question that popped up earlier. We can maybe start with that as well. What's your best approach to onboarding a new program director? Top 5 things that need to be covered in the first month. Well, it's very specific. Who wants to jump on that one?
Hey, I'll jump in.
Okay.
When it comes to staff development and staff training, I think one of the first key things is that they understand the environment that you're coming in. So your purpose behind. And when it comes to your training and having a training schedule, the first thing a good program director has to do is they effectively have to be good on the phone. So we're going to start off with some of our phone training and everything else, and then we're going to move from there. But I think that's like your number one out of that top 5 is you got to get them good on the phone, whether it's inbound lead calls or outbound calling leads, connecting with people. And so that's one of the first things that we're going to work on. I'll let somebody else jump in.
And Mr. Parman, just on that point, again, I don't know how long this is going to go, but we have all the time in the world. I'm just teasing. We have plenty of time to answer all the questions. But when you do that, right? I'm just curious.
Sure.
Are you guys role playing that? With the evolution of where things are at, there's a lot of online trains these days as well, right? Whether that's
amazing.
through training or this, or how are you doing it?
So my favorite is to use an AI platform called Yodely. So YOODLI, and you can build in role-playing scripts and your custom rubric in order to grade people on the phone. And you can do any situation, parent concerns, somebody's asking for information, you're doing an outbound call to return from a lead that comes in from Facebook, or you can do a different rubric for a lead that you got from like a booth opportunity, and you can do a role play with a virtual AI, and it's really good. I think it's tied in with like 11 Labs, so like the voice and everything is very well refined. And the great thing is it's an affordable solution for most school owners. Even if you're a small school, it's only about $200 per year. It's only less than like $20 a month to use that platform. And
there you go.
Limited role plays, and you can train your staff. So you just sit them down and you have them do 5 role plays, before or after their shift.
I love that. And that's a golden nugget, right? And by the way, not that you can't or shouldn't do this in person, but as an owner, especially if you're a multi-school owner, right? And owners just in general, if you don't have the time to necessarily or make the time to sit down and go through that role play, this actually does a really great job. And probably for, and listen, I mean, computers are amazing, right? So when you start getting feedback on as an owner, sometimes we give feedback on some of these things, but if the AI gives you feedback on, well, what was your tone? What was your pace? How did you handle it? Did it sound like you were smiling? I mean, all of these things that an AI can do that we may even sometimes overlook. And so just the convenience to be able to do that for your team and then be able to get a report, I would assume, back from the AI as to how well they did is pretty cool.
Oh, it's incredible, and it also tell you their filler words and what their sentence structure and what they're starting their sentences off with the most, and you can train specifically on using less filler words and stuff like that too on that platform.
That's a big evolution. Awesome. I mean, most people don't even do trainings, and now you're utilizing AI. So love that. Anybody else want to chime in on program director?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I'm getting an echo on my end. Anyway, the thing I think that you need to ask yourself is, why are you hiring a program director to begin with? And if the answer is we need someone to answer, because everybody's version of program director is different. But if the answer is, oh, we need someone to answer phones, take payments, then that's what you need to work on first. And a big part of that is personality and making sure that they understand how to be personable, how to answer the phone the way you want it to be answered, what information do they need to get. And anytime you're talking about answering the phone, it's the same skills in a different way transferred when that person's walking in for the first time. So phone call, personality, how to brand the school, what image do you want to portray, and then role playing that, like Mr. Parman said, over and over. But, that's one example. Another example, some people may say, well, I just need someone to help me do inventory and to make sure that, I'm not falling behind on all these other tasks. So I think it really just depends on what skills you're hiring for and what problems you're trying to solve. But if you're trying to solve everything, then I think start with that. Start with the phone skills first.
Right on. Love it. And I would go back. I might even go back to before you hire the program director, kind of like you're talking about. And who are you hiring? To your point, are they front facing? Because a very charismatic person in that position can make a lot of mistakes early on and still recover because they're very charismatic and they're a people person, right? As opposed to getting somebody who may know the system inside and out. They went through maybe your SOPs or your playbooks, but they just don't have the personality for that particular position. That would be, right people, right spot, right bus, right? And so even that, sometimes we hire out of desperation as opposed to thinking about growth in the long term. And so that's the other thing to kind of think about there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, great.
Can you guys hear me yet?
Yes, sir.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Sure.
All right, I'm back. Hey, Cass, just because of the audio issues, I'm going to keep popping questions up there. If you can read the questions and then let everyone chime in. But real quick, before we hit this question, Jason, you may want to answer this question from right here.
All the time.
From KickFit. Have any of you had a good amount of your team members at once? And what things lost? Have you lost a good amount of team members at once? What things did you do to bounce back?
Yeah, absolutely. We had our program director went on maternity leave for her third child. And right before she was supposed to come back, she let us know that she couldn't do it, couldn't afford daycare, and the juggling the 3 kids and work wasn't going to work. So we had that happen, as well as our chief instructor, who was a full-timer, taught every kid's class and all of our striking classes. So kind of got left immediately to scramble. And the first thing that we always do is look internally, right? Anybody that you can hire from inside your team in terms of students or part-timers that have that potential to move up and fill a bigger position. So we kind of put those feelers out, talk to individual people. If you exhaust all those possibilities and there isn't any good fits, then I try to reach for any personal recommendation from other school owners, old teammates or training partners, anybody that can recommend somebody, so it's not just a random person. And of course, beyond that, then it's putting the ads out if you need to publicly, your jobs are monsters.com and things like that. And just doing a really good job of trying to filter through the applicants, making sure we're asking all the right questions and interviewing and really kind of going through all the resumes that we're getting. But, it can be a challenge at first, but every time we've lost a key person, it's been an opportunity to level up. And just, over 20 years, you're in a headache, you're struggling and you're stressed out when you're in it and you're trying to figure out who's going to fill that spot. But with time, you see that it always gives you a chance to improve on the, experience from before, train them even better, the next person. And usually when somebody's new, they're excited, they're really wanting to prove themselves. And with proper training, like what we were just talking about, you set yourself up for success in the future.
Love it. Love it. Anybody else want to comment on that? Anybody else had a big loss of? I mean, I think it was great, but otherwise, we'll jump right over to Mr. Taylor or Miss Taylor Floyd's question.
I mean,
go ahead.
yeah, I can chime in real quick. Yeah, we've definitely lost people before, and multiple people at once. And this doesn't maybe necessarily answer the exact question you want, but I would always be looking to hire people, even when you're not hiring people, and always have a plan B and plan C. Like, for instance, we have a program director, but we have an assistant program director who kind of helps out part-time in training, so that if, God forbid, something happened to her, I mean, they could quit or something worse could happen. I mean, you got to look at like life and the challenges and catastrophes that could happen. God forbid that happened, we would have a plan in place. And like right now, we're hiring people, even though we're kind of maxed out on our hiring budget. We're planning to grow, but we're also planning for the future in case something happens. So always be looking to hire people, always be looking to train people, and have a plan, at least a plan B in place.
Right on. And to your point, listen, you don't have to hire everyone that you get a resume from. You don't have to hire anybody. But if you do come across a gem, you're going to find a spot for them and get them in and get them involved, right? Because we all know the worst time to find somebody is when you need somebody or when you lose somebody, right? My dad used to tell me that about a job, right? Like the worst time to look for a new job is when you don't have one anymore. So that was great advice, right? So, all right, Taylor Floyd's question: as the program director, how do I get instructors fully bought into the new systems, community involvement, and growth initiatives when some team members struggle with consistency, energy, or staying aligned with the culture during class? And what system or strategy has helped you turn disengaged instructors around without creating resentment or burnout? Ooh, that's a big question. Big question. Maybe we do a two-parter.
And as any of you answer that, let's everybody watching, if you have questions, send more questions in. We'd like to answer any questions you have. We know summer's coming up, and it's always a challenge for a lot of people in the summer. People want to go on vacation, freeze programs. And if we don't have those questions, I'd like to get all your opinions on summer and what we do to beat summer. But go ahead, let's answer that question first. And I'm not going to answer any right now because my sound goes in and out. So go ahead, guys. Tass, if you keep moderating, that's awesome.
Yeah, no problem. And you saw Mr. Chung, I think, on there that has logged into Zoom. Do we somebody connect with them by chance just to make sure that they got the right the link?
Yeah, I think he's on since he commented now, I think.
Oh, okay, cool. All right. Who wants to take Kling?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. It sounds like that. Yeah, that's kind of like a multi-pronged thing. I would first start off with just making sure just spend a day with what are the goals for not just the martial arts school, but what are the goals for the quarter, and just have a team cancel all classes on one Friday, and just have your team in, and just do some staff training. Just kind of lay out, okay, what are the goals for the quarter and some different things that you want to hit. And just make sure everybody is bought into, okay, look, the goals financially for the quarter are this. Membership-wise, it's this. And culture-wise, it's this. And, of course, there's retention and upgrades and enrollments and all that stuff. But it sounds like this is something that's going on right now in your martial arts school. So I would have a big old team meeting, cancel classes for the day, just say, hey, look, we're having a big, staff training. Your students are going to understand. You go to every elementary, middle, and high school, there is always days for just staff training, no kids. So have that in your school and just go over the goals, and then definitely do some role playing. Role play some classes out. Role play, hey, how are we bowing people in? How are we bowing people out? What are some of the anchors in class? Maybe you have a word of the month program, or maybe you have an upgrade program or a nomination. But role play those things out, and not just lecturing the employees. You don't want to do that, or lecturing teammates. Do something where people actually get to kind of do a let's call it a mock nomination if you're doing upgrades, or it's a mock beginning of class or ending in class or sparring session, and give people just maybe a 2-3 minute teaching opportunity. So just little spots, and just keep it all positive, okay? Because it's all about growth. You've seen it before. I'm sure that you can look back and look at elementary, middle, or high school teachers and say, wow, they were kind of burnt out. Because I see you kind of go in that direction with the question. Everybody needs a moment to recharge their batteries and just go over, hey, what are we trying to get done this quarter, and how can we improve as instructors and as martial artists? So that's a big old question. But I would just start with cancel class for a day. Do some staff training, and just keep it fun. Ordering some food, lay out the goals. Don't get preachy about it, and just have fun with it.
So Taylor, it looks like, if I'm understanding this correctly, you're the program director at the martial arts school, and you're trying to get other people to buy in to what's happening. So I think the idea of having the goals is, of course, important. Also having the why behind the goal, and what is the bigger vision other than just the month or the quarter? What's the big vision for everybody in the martial arts school? And if you don't know what that is, right, then I would go talk to your owner and say, hey, listen, I just want to try and get, I think this is a great mission to try and get everybody aligned and cohesive. But if we don't know what we're doing and what the vision is from the top down, it gets to be very hard to play in that space, because we just think we're coming in to teach classes and do things and I give you an example, right? We're in a growth phase right now, right? So we had for several years, I just kind of let things be. I'm like, all right, we got to get back in a growth phase. We're in a growth phase. We've hit a metric right now. And I will tell you, our entire team will not let this metric fall. They're all bought in, but because they all have the goals now and they understand the vision, they understand the bigger picture. And I think if we're losing our way, or if there's not buy-in, it's we don't understand the vision. And by the way, I know you're a program director, and so we all have to understand this, but the vision has to be bigger than just, we want more students. What's the vision of each team member, and why are they there, and what is their long-term goal? And it goes back to what I said earlier. Are they in the right seat and even on the right bus, right? And if they understand what they're trying to go after and what the goals are, what the vision is, that can give them clarity, that creates buy-in. But this is where you also have one-on-one conversations to find out what motivates each of these people, because everyone's motivated a little bit differently. And it's not always money, right? And so we got to figure that out. And so I think there's definitely a bigger answer in there. But I would say vision and clarity would be probably the biggest thing to start with. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I would say also define what the culture is. Make sure there's a definition for what the culture is. You may have an idea of that culture. Someone else may have a different idea. If you're the program director, chances are you've caught the culture from the owner, because they always say culture is caught, not taught. And that's true. But also, I think to some degree it is taught, because you have to define what it is. And that starts with what Mr. Shane says, the why. So I would just piggyback off of that. It's just define what that culture is as a team, and then get everybody to buy into that. And then it's your job to role model that culture.
Right on. Anyone want to comment on the last part of that, which is the resentment, how to do this without creating resentment or burnout? And what I'm trying to imagine this question, in that martial arts school, I remember years ago, we would have an instructor that would not nominate, as an example. Now I'm going to uncover a big controversial topic, which is upgrades, but you can understand the concept. The program director is wanting this person to do, we need to do nominations for the martial arts school. Why? Because we know that upgrades are two things. Number one, they help with revenue. Number two, they help with retention, right? And in some schools, and again, based off of your school, right, at some point there may be, and pay is always subjective, it's performance-based pay, whether that's you're recognized for a raise each year, whether that's hourly or salary, or there's some sort of bonus or percentage or whatever that may be. The better you get and the better the martial arts business does, the better everyone's going to do. But sometimes it's hard to see that. And so I think at the end of the day, really understanding what is the goal. But this instructor would not nominate. So the program director started nominating back in the day, would actually do the nominations because they're like, we just need to get it done. But again, that goes back to the reasons and the why. And why are people getting burnt out? Because they probably don't have the vision. They don't have the goal. And the resentment can happen that way if we're constantly pushing them as opposed to pulling them because of their why. So I think it all ties together, but it's this industry, we always say it's the best job in the world with the worst hours, right? Like that's the challenge. And that's what you got to try and watch for and do the best you can to prevent those things.
I wanted to chime in on there just really quick. Everything you guys said, I agree with completely. And especially with instructors who there may be some resentment. One of the big things that can help with that is involving the staff members in the decision-making process. If somebody feels like they're heard and they can give input into what the system is going to be, they're more likely to follow through with that system and help execute. So if they understand that the mission overall coming from the top, whether it's the owner or you as a program director, is to give our students the best possible experience and to, help them become the best version of themselves. That's what we say here. That's our motto. Well, how can we do that? Well, we want students on the mat. We want more students training so we can change more people's lives. And the more they're on the mat, the more and the longer they're on the mat, the more we can make an impact in their lives. That's why we want students getting enrolled. That's why we want them upgraded. That's why we want them training regularly. So that's why we need to get students nominated. So what do you think the best way that we can do that is? We ask questions. Now those instructors are giving input. And when we come up with a system together, there's no kind of, well, they're making me do that, or you told me I had to do this. It's like, no, you were a part of this process, and they're more likely to be bought in.
Love that. Yeah. You get weigh in and then you get buy-in. Love that. This is a good question. What are you doing to prepare for a successful summer? Well, I just got the boat out, so I'm excited about that. But Mr. Parman, I know you crush it with summer. And by the way, maybe you pick one of the 3 R's here, and then maybe we'll have a couple others do the other 2 R's if you want to do that, just to kind of give some gems as to what we're doing to prepare. Because again, this is a question that, if I told Mr. Parman, like, man, summer's the worst, or it's just dead and quiet, he'd be like, well, I don't know what you're doing at your martial arts school, but it's the busiest time of the year for us. Is that a fair statement, Mr. Parman?
It's a fair statement. Yes, sir.
Maybe 2 things. Number one, what are you doing? And by the way, there may be some things that we needed to do a while ago to prepare, but we'll know for next time. And there's things that we can do right now, even if we didn't get the ball rolling and things initially going. But give us some ideas on things that you're doing.
Well, my number one key is, how are you going to have a successful summer? And you've got to start strong and you got to finish strong, right? So what you're doing currently here in May is going to set up your summer. So I think the most important thing for you to focus on, if you plan on it or you want to have a successful summer, is simply that you make sure you have an amazing May first and foremost, right? And so part of that is being more proactive rather than being reactive. So how are you getting the phone to ring? How are your enrollments moving into summer? So first thing I would say is, we got to look at all your renewals, your upgrade potentials, and anyone that's expiring in June, July, or August, your team should be talking to, and we should be getting them renewed now and committed. That way, as we move into the summer, they're not going to fall off, or those aren't going to be future cancellations. Instead, we can now move them into being re-excited about their training and their focus throughout the summer months, right? So I would say that would be number one. Number two is, what are we doing now to generate and collect leads that can turn into future enrollments now and throughout the summer? So ultimately, what booth opportunities are there here at the end of the year? What are we doing for our Disguise Buddy Days? Are we having an end of the school year celebration for our students and all their classmates as they finish off? Are going to be some of my first things. And then what are we doing to go back and look at all of the people that quit this same time last year? Are we reaching out to those old students and inviting them to come back? hey, it's been almost a year. We haven't seen you train. We would really love to have you back in the dojo. And we have a fantastic offer that we put together to get you back into school because we miss seeing you and we miss your family being involved here at our martial arts school. So that's how we're starting off as we focus prior to going into summer. And then I'll let somebody take over.
Well, Peter, as you say this, I mean, that's a big question, which is why we actually are having this our martial arts summer of success next week, right? We're having a 2-day
Exactly.
deal that we're talking about this, where we can go through and give you more of the details and the action steps to go implement and execute. Because, I mean, this is going to be a 2-day workshop for us to go through all these things. So in a 1 hour, 6 panel, people of 6 panel, it's hard to get through all of that. But anybody else want to throw out, and that's a free deal next week, by the way. So if you guys want to look at the link, I'm sure, well, there you go. They pop the link in the thing. You guys are so on it. You can sign up, register there. It'll be great information. I remember, Mr. Metzger, when I first started doing consulting, whatever it was now, 12, 13 years ago. And the first time I went up and consulted and spoke in front of a group, I'll never forget. I go to the back and it's like, a kid looking for acknowledgement from their dad. Like, how'd I do? And he's like, you just got to stop talking and get to the point. Give these people some things they can take at home and put into action. Right. And that set the pace for me, because that's just what Maya is. Right. And that's what we do, is we give people actionable things that they can go implement immediately in their school. So love that. Anybody else want to talk anything about summer that you got on your mind here? Some small gems? No.
I mean, we got to mention Christmas in July. I'll say it. I mean, again, I know that's a whole system, but for us, the slowest time of the year historically was always summertime and December. And everybody else I talked to was summertime, December, slowest months of the year by far. And now those are by far our highest grossing months. I was kind of looking at the numbers, and we on average do 200% of our average revenue in July. So we're doing at least double what we'd normally do any other given month in July, and then usually closer to 300% in December. So what's your slowest months now become your strongest. I mean, that basic formula is going to boost your revenue for the whole year, and that's how you end up having record year after record year. So, I mean, so many details to go into there, but it does start in May. June, we start executing scheduling appointments. And by having this big event, it's not just a sale. People say, yeah, we do sales. It's not just that. There's the whole system. That's how you can have yourself, a rock star July like we do every year.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, this is when summer revenue is down. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that we do. Whether summer revenue is down or not, this is a system that we've had in place for years, where we've made our summers phenomenal, which is fun to do. What about summer free? Do any of you guys do freezes for summer? No, summer. Good. I asked a close-ended question. I got a close-ended answer. Well, let me ask you a question. What would you tell someone who says, I have a lot of freezes because we're coming up on, we talk about 3 times a year that we lose the most amount of students coming into summer, coming out of summer, and coming out of the holidays. So what do you tell someone? Say, how do I prevent these freezes?
I'd say it starts actually from day one. If it's not addressed when they enroll, then they're just going to figure it's whatever they can do, like the Wild Wild West. That's why we always recommend have a new student checklist that you go through different things. Like, what do you do when you're sick, whether you're sick or your child's sick or whatever? What classes they can go to, and have in there your cancellation policy and, freezes, and just talk about it. And just say, hey, if you don't want to do freezes, you have to let people know on day one that you don't do freezes. And what we recommend is that, hey, look, if Johnny's doing another activity, that's fine. What we'll do is you never lose your time. You make your regular scheduled payments, but we can just move that time to the end of your program. You just have to make sure you discuss it in the very beginning. And that's it. And as long as you cover in the beginning before they enroll, it's not a problem. If you don't, that's when summer becomes a problem then with freezing time or cancellations.
So historically, just so everyone is on the same page, right? Like, we do programs, not memberships, but I'm going to come to those of you that do memberships in a second and give you a little nugget that you can do as well. But the deal is we freeze time, not payments, right? So if you're paying, You'll still pay for the time that you're not there, but we always, and Kling said this, we'll always add that time to the end of your program. This way you're never out any time and you're never out any money. And I had to slow myself down there because we say it all the time, but it's how it's presented. And by the way, when we say that, the parents are like, oh, or the students like, yeah, that makes sense. But what about those of you who say, well, we're not doing programs. This is why we don't follow Maya, because you guys do contracts. Well, so do you. There just happen to be 30 days at a time. But everyone does some sort of a contract or a program or an agreement, whatever you want to call it, right? But how do you avoid the freeze? Because then this is the time that we get the call, like we have all these people they're canceling. Of course they are. Because they want to freeze their time because it's monthly and you're paying month to month. There's not a way to do that. The way that you would do that is, we don't teach you to have a registration fee, right? We teach you to have a down payment because a down payment is a part of the overall program. But I would do a registration fee if I was a month-to-month school, because what I can do to potentially keep them in is if they want to freeze or cancel, they would have to pay the registration fee again when they re-enroll. And that in and of itself can help to deter people from freezing over the summertime, right? There's that. We can do an end of the summer makeup camp or get ahead camp. There's ways to be able to do that, but these are things that we need to make sure that we're doing, to Mr. Klingemeyer's point, from the beginning, and not reacting to these things once summer happens. One of the best things that we ever did when we started doing the extended time guarantee, the big one for us here is Pop Warner football. This happens in fall. It's Monday through Thursday, right after school until about 6:30 at night. These kids literally can't come to class. But I remember when a parent came to me and said, hey, we need a freeze because of X, Y, and Z. I said, listen, no problem. I said, what's he doing? Well, he's doing Pop Warner football. Oh my God, that's awesome. Is he excited? Yeah, he's really excited. Well, good for him. So just so I understand, he can't make class at all during the week, even if we try and keep one foot in? No, we just can't. No problem at all. What we'll do is we'll go ahead and execute the extended time guarantee. You'll still make those payments, just as a reminder. You make those payments for that time, but we'll add that time to the end of your program. This way you're not out any money, you're not out any time. And by the way, I hope he has a blast playing football. Like, it was a much easier conversation because we have that in play, right? So again, regardless of, I would always promote programs. There's reasons why, but even if you don't do a program, the month to month, you can do a registration fee to kind of get them re-enrolled if need be. What else do we have for questions? Anyone see anything?
Yeah, there's one from Farmington Martial Arts.
Go ahead, Mr.
I have a paid instructor that is not always engaged. For example, we have had 2 belt tests so far this year, and he has not been at either one. I'm guessing you all would put put participation in the job description. Yeah, we have positional agreements. So when we hire and onboard someone, we have an agreement that is outlined what their responsibilities are from day one. So there is no gray area. If they are required to come to testing, that's a part of their job. And so they sign off on this when they're hired. They keep a copy. I have a copy. And if for some reason they violate their agreement, then that means we're going to have a talk, and there's going to be a talk. And by the way, if this happens more than once, that may mean that we terminate them. They're not fulfilling their end of the agreement, or we demote them in some way. But if you start off from the beginning with an agreement and clear lines of what's expected, you're way more likely to have that buy-in moving forward. But if it's not explained, then there's maybe no wonder why they're not coming. Maybe their assumption was they didn't need to come. But that's what I would start with, is have a job description, but a positional agreement is what we call it. And then you could even renew that every year if you want, just to kind of, hey, let's go over it every year. Let's go through everybody's positional agreement. When I implemented those, I had been teaching and running a martial arts school for years before I implemented them. But I just explained to the staff, hey, this is to help me and to help you, so that we're both clear on what the expectations are with this job. By the way, I have a positional agreement as well as the owner. I have a job description as well. So that's where I would start with that answer.
Love it. Yeah.
Anyone else?
No, I think that was in the situation where I didn't have a positional agreement in place and I was having this problem. The first thing that I would probably do is sit down with the instructor. Honestly, I always like to take it outside of the studio invite them for lunch on me, sit down with them, explain, why it would be important for him to be there and the value and how much the students are missing having him be a part of the testing, and really try to convey the value of testing and the value that he brings to the team. I would start from a position of not being upset, but appreciative for everything he does with the school. Explain the value of having him part of testing, and then see if I couldn't get his commitment to be a part of testing. Then I would use that as the framework to build my position agreement with him, and then have that typed up and sign it. And then from that point forward, now you have that in place, and there can't be that miscommunication.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what Shane said earlier. Explain the why. Why is it important that you come to testing? Why do we need you to be here? Yeah. So,
well, and the other thing too, I think, is in the hiring process, because let's face it, I mean, depending on where you're at, we've all learned lessons over time. We're like, just give me someone that's got, a freaking pulse, and I can put them on the floor and put them in a uniform to be able to help and assist. And I mean, these were the early days, right? Like, you're hiring out of desperation for people. And so when you hire out of desperation, and you sometimes, what you do is you paint this unbelievable picture about how great this career or job is. And then when they have to go to a parent night out and stay there until 10 o'clock at night, and somebody freaking pees or poops or throws up in the bathroom, and they got to clean, like, that was never brought up, man. And so I learned this from Mr. Metzger years ago. You paint the worst possible picture that you can. If they still want to take the job, now it's easy. It's much easier, as opposed to, let's just tell them all the good stuff and not tell them the bad stuff. This is also when challenges and problems can happen, right? So love those things. And again, concept, right? Positional agreements, not just for testing, but for everything. And my positional agreement goes like this: everything is everybody's job. I say that jokingly, because when it's everyone's job, it becomes nobody's job. But I don't have a positional agreement that says, when you walk in the martial arts school, if you see a dirty sock on the floor in the parking lot, pick it up. I don't have that anywhere, but that's just common sense and expected in our school. And so we have to teach that and coach that from the top down. So last thing, guys, two things. Number one, remember, I'll get to Tracy's question in a second. Number one, we have this 2-day webinar, free webinar, Zoom, I don't know what we call it, right? Training, whatever it is, workshop next week. And we're going to go and get in the weeds on how to make this the best summer ever. Like, this is what we do. And we want to provide value for all of you and give you details and really dive in. And so we're very excited about that. That's next week. The link is in here. Also, I think it'll be cool for us to do this, maybe once a month type thing, and see what we can do. And we've got a lot of engagement, which has been really good. Because sometimes, I'll be honest, we're behind the scenes. We're like, what do we want to talk about this week? Right? And that's right. We're going through like, well, what do we want to title it? Because we've been doing this for, I don't know, man, 12, 13, however many years. And there's only so much to cover in the martial arts business. But if we're not getting feedback from people, we don't always know what the best thing or what you want to hear. So I love the Ask Me Anythings, because it opens the door for anything. And by the way, you're getting people with different opinions on here as to how they do things, which will provide value for you as well. So with that, we'll answer this last question. Tracy Jones says, what would be a good incentive to renew early? The answer is whatever you want and whatever works. But here's what you have to understand. I always pull this out like in a gym membership. If I got if I have a gym membership as an example, right? Whether I'm there on a free month pass for a trial, or I'm there in a 12-month signed contract, and they come to me before my trial is over or before my agreement is up and say, hey, Shane, how's the gym going? How you liking things? Oh, it's been great. Love it. Awesome. Do you want to get renewed, or do you want to sign up? No, I'll just wait until my trial is over and then I'll sign up then. Or do you want to renew? Well, no, I'm not up for like 6 weeks. I'll just wait for 6 weeks and I'll renew then. I say this because sometimes we think of things differently in the martial arts world. But if there was an incentive, if they said, hey, Shane, how's everything going? And they check in and do a progress check and they get the green light from me that everything is going good. And they say, hey, by the way, you don't have to, but just so you know, we're doing a special this month that if you want to renew now, you're going to get a $100 gift card to the smoothie bar. I'm like, well, shit, yeah, I'm going to renew anyway, so I'll just get the $100 gift card to the smoothie bar. it makes sense for me to do it now, right? So there has to be some sort of an incentive, whether that's $50 to your pro shop, or it's a new uniform, or a widget, or a trinket, or a tchotchke, or whatever you want to do. There has to be some sort of incentive, and it's not a one size fits all. It's just what works best for you guys. And I will say this: oftentimes I do like to do a pro shop gift card, as opposed to a flat amount off of the program, like $100 off or $50 off. Why? Because of the difference between wholesale and resale or retail, I'm not losing as much money, and it's a perceived higher value. So that's what I would tell you. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but there does need to be some sort of incentive. So with that, anybody want to chime in? Any other last tips or golden nuggets for summer success? Of course, next week we're going to go over a lot of those, so we won't give a lot of those away now. But if anyone wants to chime in and say anything before we sign off.
Yeah, I'll be on the webinar next week, so definitely tune into that, guys. I've got a whole presentation outlined that you definitely don't want to miss. I do see Master Herb Perez is on here. He says, why is he not getting reminders to see my favorite peeps? So you may want to send him some reminders. Hey, sir. Yeah, so that's what I got.
Love it. Love it. Anybody else? Nothing? You guys, you talk too much every day, so you're all talked out. All right. Well, listen, appreciate everybody jumping on. It was great engagement. Great having everybody on here. Mr. Perez, great seeing you. And like I said, we're looking forward to doing more of these. And so make sure, turn your notifications on so you guys get them when we're doing them. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody next week on the free webinar. And listen, if you have martial arts school owner friends, it doesn't cost anything to go hear the information. It doesn't cost anything to do that, right? What it costs you time, but if somebody just looks and listens at this stuff and then they execute, you'd be shocked and surprised sometimes what a little bit of execution will do and how it can change the trajectory for a martial arts school. So, I mean, don't be selfish, share it with a friend, because we're all in this, because if we can get better as an industry, it makes our jobs so much easier. Health clubs for years have had a horrible stigma because they would open health clubs, take all the money, fold up, and they'd run out of town. And that was not good for any health club, right? So we want to make sure we're elevating the martial arts experience for everybody and the business model, so it is easier for people to make a decision. So appreciate you guys. Great job, team. Appreciate everybody. If you guys need anything, we're always here for you. I think we'll sign off for now.
Bye, guys.
All right.
See you next
See you
week.
later.